What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Cherry Pickers. I'm Gary Altizer, your host, coming back with some more NFL picks, bets, and a review. Last week, the system went 4-3 last week. We had another winning week. Overall, we went 4-4 because we weren't able to cash our teaser, but we were able to cash the other bets, the 4 of the 7 other bets, to push our record to 24, 12, and 1 over the last 4 weeks. We're having a great run. Things are continuing to go well. So let's get right into it. Quick recap of week 13. Like I said, the system went 4-3 with its picks. Let's start with the first one. Tennessee getting 6.5 at Washington. That did not work out. On the show, I begged Will Levis to not throw a pick 6. He actually didn't, but they did a couple of things that were just as bad. They turned the ball over twice inside their own 20-yard line, which Washington turned into quick touchdowns. They just got down quick and weren't able to come back. That's the way it goes when you bet on bad teams. If they have a bad game, everything falls apart. Washington needed the win bad after some losses. They really wanted to stay into this playoff hunt. They needed it much worse. Tennessee had just come off a big win against a division foe. So we weren't able to cash there. The next pick was the Chargers -1 at Atlanta. They were able to win and cover. It was probably the second ugliest win of the season in the NFL. The Chargers did not play good football at all. They just couldn't move the ball on offense. They have no playmakers. I mean, this Chargers team is just too old school for its own good. They play fundamental football. They don't turn the ball over. But when they need a big play, they don't really have anyone. And I just read that Ladd McConkey, probably their best receiver on the team, is a game-time decision today. So they play the Chiefs in Arrowhead. That's a tough game there. But the Chargers did come through. Kirk Cousins played terrible. He threw 4 picks. He threw a pick 6 and 3 other really bad passes. I don't know what's going on with him. Maybe he's got an undisclosed injury that's causing, some of this, because he's not playing great. He started out the season good, and then he fell off of a cliff. But either way, we were able to cash that one. The next one was Pittsburgh getting 3 in Cincinnati. I thought that was a crazy line. I thought Pittsburgh was just the better team. That turned out to be the case. Cincinnati, because they have that high-flying offense, they get a lot of love from the bookmakers and from the public, but Pittsburgh was just a better team. And Pittsburgh, with Russell Wilson, is able to move the ball. They are able to put points on the board, and they had no trouble doing their job, keeping up, and able to come away with the win there. Even after a Russell Wilson pick 6, they just kept grinding and were able to take the lead and pull away there in the end. So another nice win there against the spread for the Steelers. The next one, the Patriots, man, this game was crazy. The Patriots ended up losing this game, I believe, by a point, but they were getting 2.5. We cashed that. Indy should have lost this game 5 or 6 different times. I think the Patriots were inside the 5 twice and didn't score. I think they had 1 or 2 touchdowns taken off of the board. Everything went wrong for them in this game, but it didn't matter for us because we took New England plus 2.5. They lost by 1. We were able to get that win. The next one was the Vikings -3.5 versus Arizona. Half a point killed us there. They ended up winning by 3 points. Arizona played a good game. I'll give it to them. They played well. Minnesota has kind of come down to earth some from how they were playing earlier in this season, but they still came out with a win. It was a 3-point win. Getting this late in the season, Minnesota, like I said, they needed that win to stay up with Detroit. But Arizona, they're just well coached, and they've got playmakers on that team. So they were able to cover. We did not cash there. The next one were the Saints and the Rams. The Saints were getting 2.5. I thought the Saints were probably the better team, and in my opinion, they really were. But they weren't able to finish the game out. I think they ended up losing by a touchdown. They were inside like the 15-yard line at the end of the game to score and take the lead, but they made some mistakes earlier in the game that they couldn't overcome. I still think that Rams team is smoke and mirrors. I don't think it's that good. I think they're living on reputation from the past. Honestly, yes, they got 2 good receivers. They got a good running back, and of course they got a great quarterback, but that team overall is not that good. Neither is New Orleans. They've got tons of injuries. In the last game, we were able to cash. I told you the system thought Philly was the better team out of Philly and Baltimore. But they were getting 3 points, didn't need that. They won out straight out. That Philly team is tough. They could very easily be the Super Bowl representative in the NFC. So that made it 4-3. And then we had a teaser of the Steelers +9. That was no problem. The stinking Titans, I should have stayed away from that. I wanted to take New England, and I last minute changed my mind because the Titans were getting so many points. But that's what happens when you try to trust a bad team too much against the spread, because even if they're getting points, it just seems like when the wheels come off, they fall off big time. So 4-3 for the system, 4-4 overall. That makes our record 24-12-1 over the last 4 weeks against the spread, having a great run, hitting at 66% clip. They say if you can hit it 55%, you can be a professional gambler and make the living doing that. I'll take it. Let's head on to this week. We're going to start in Minnesota. Big game here. The Vikings are at home as they host the Atlanta Falcons. It is the Kirk Cousins homecoming game. Minnesota is a 6-point favorite. The system believes Minnesota is the better team, and it also believes that Minnesota is 8 to 9 points better than Atlanta. So that's the pick we're going to take. It's only a 6-point line. We're going to take Minnesota -6. Minnesota has a tough defense. Kirk Cousins is not playing well lately. If they can get some pressure on him, he could turn the ball over. But you got a game like this, that Falcons team is going to know this is a big game for not only Kirk Cousins, but they need this win to stay in first place in that NFC South, excuse me. They're tied up record-wise with the Buccaneers right now, but they do have the tiebreaker with 2 wins. The Bucs play the Raiders today in a very winnable game at home, while Atlanta being at Minnesota, that's the much tougher road path today. So Atlanta's going to be throwing everything at them. Minnesota, of course, wants to keep pace with the Lions, hoping the Lions will slip up. Lions were able to get that win over the the Packers on Thanksgiving, and that was a close game, but they were able to come through with it. So they just keep finding ways to win. They're doing a lot of things right. They're gambling on fourth down, nearly every fourth down. I mean, it has to be in their own territory in 4th and 12 for this Lions team not go for it, and they're getting them because, in my opinion, they have a dominant offensive line, and when they need yards, they know that offensive line is going to provide the protection or the blocking for a run to get it. So Minnesota needs this game. Atlanta needs this game. This is a desperation game for Atlanta. This is a, hey, we've got to keep pace game for Minnesota. I just think that defense is too good personally, and the system agrees. So I'm going to stick with that. Let's head to the Cleveland-Pittsburgh game. It's in Pittsburgh. These two teams just played a few weeks ago with the Browns coming away with an upset win in the snow. Jameis Winston had a great game. Last week, Winston threw for nearly 500 yards, but in the process, he threw 2 pick sixes in that Denver game. They played Denver really tough, but the history with Jameis Winston and the turnovers and the pick sixes, they came to bite him in that game. They weren't able to pull it out. They played tough. This game being in Pittsburgh, the system calls it too close. It's too close to call. It's 6 or 6.5 that Cleveland is getting. Pittsburgh they didn't play great in that game in Cleveland. Pittsburgh did not play good in that game in Cleveland. I don't know what it is about the away division games for Pittsburgh. Sometimes the Steelers just don't look like the same team. So that just didn't look like them. I have a feeling that they're going to look like themselves this week. Wilson, like I said, threw that pick six last week against Cincinnati, and he came right back and played a really good game after that, played a clean game after that, and he did his job. I see Pickens is playing today. I don't know if he's dealing with a nagging injury, but that would have been an enormous loss. Too close to call here. I'm not sure where I would put my money if I was put my money on this game. Obviously, the ceiling is higher for Pittsburgh. Obviously, Pittsburgh needs this game to keep pace with the Bills And with the Chiefs, they're sitting in third place. They're pretty comfortable right now, but they don't want to give any kind of slack off to the Ravens. So this will be a good one. We'll see how Cleveland responds after that tough game in Denver last week. They got this division game coming up. Who knows? It's the AFC North. It's December. That would be a fun game to be at, just with the atmosphere. That Pittsburgh atmosphere is going to be really loud. They're going to want to get revenge on that loss. And Cleveland, just, they're playing scrappy football right now. And Winston, I think he's playing, a guy like Jameis Winston, who technically one of the best backups in the NFL and definitely could be a starter in the NFL. He doesn't know where he's going to be next year. He doesn't know what's going to happen. So he needs to play well just to keep getting those paychecks. He's going to get signed somewhere no matter what. But if he wants to start, he wants to show that he's worthy of it. Those two teams are just going to be killing each other on that field. I think that this will be a kitchen sink game for the Browns, and I think that the Steelers are just going to come out wanting revenge. So you're going to see some hits today. I think this will be a fun one to watch. The next one, let's head to Philadelphia, as the Eagles are hosting this really scrappy Carolina Panthers team. Hey, if you're a football fan, you got to be rooting for Bryce Young. The way his career started and just the adversity that he's dealt with in not playing well on the field, and the benching that happened earlier in the season where Andy Dalton come in and won his first game, and then got into a car wreck. I don't know if he's driving to or from practice, something like that, got into a car wreck, and they had to bench him because they didn't want to risk it. Bryce Young comes in, and man, that kid is playing great football. They've had 2 overtime losses in a row to the Buccaneers and to the Chiefs. They come in this as 14-point dogs. That is a lot of points in the NFL. In the system, almost never will pick a favorite getting this many points. It's like Carolina plus 14. Now, this is a bad matchup for Carolina, if you ask me. Believe it or not, Carolina does have one of the best offensive lines in the NFL, but it's going to be on the defensive side of the ball. I think Saquon and that Philly offensive line and just the running game overall could really beat Carolina up and down the field. They could very easily win this game by 3 touchdowns, but getting 14, that's just too many points. These teams aren't separated by that much. The NFL teams, clean slate, neutral field, everybody, playing without crazy, variance where you've got blocked kicks that get returned for touchdowns, or kick returns for touchdowns, or pick sixes, or weird fumbles that kind of bounce into the defense's hands and they pick it up and run. Without those crazy things that happen, these NFL teams, top to bottom, aren't that much different. 14 points is too much in most circumstances outside of a bunch of injuries and a bunch of variance. We're going to go with the system here. It likes Carolina plus 14. I've not liked betting on Carolina and the points this season, and it's proven me wrong several times, so we'll see how that goes. The next one, we're going to have the NFC West here. We're going to Arizona as the Cardinals host the Seahawks. Seahawks leading that division now at 7-5 after that loss last week that Arizona needed desperately. They're down to a game behind. Arizona is the home team, and they are the favorite. They're a 3-point favorite here. The system shows these two teams as being almost identical, as just Arizona being less than a point better overall. But Seattle's getting 3 points, so it likes Seattle with those 3 points. Seattle's won a couple games in a row. The Seattle head coach is known as a defensive, I don't want to say savant, but the guy knows the game and he knows the defensive side of the ball. And there are a lot of teams in the NFL now mimicking what he does and the approach he takes. That a lot of people are stealing his defense, just like the NFL has kind of done the same thing with Kyle Shanahan's offense, and taking philosophy and the way he's doing things and implementing it themselves. Arizona at home, this is going to be a tough game for Seattle. They're not going to be able to make mistakes. Geno Smith is going to have another big game. Their receivers are going to have to come through. And this Arizona defensive line is, by the numbers, terrible. I mean, they're I don't know. It doesn't look good, but when I watch the games, they look fine, and they did really well against Minnesota last week, applying a bunch of pressure. Seattle's starting center retired a couple weeks ago. In fact, the week he retired, they won an away game in San Francisco. The first time they've done that in like 5 or 6 years, something like that. Both these teams are going to be playing their hearts out. They're going to be both doing anything they can to win the game. The system like Seattle +3, we're going to roll with the system. Next game, we're heading to LA as the Rams host the Bills. The Bills are 3.5-point favorites, and the system says that the Bills are more than 3.5 points better than the Rams. Much better, actually. It shows that about 8 points better. But this is a tough spot really for Buffalo to be in. They've won a couple of big games in a row. They beat San Francisco. They beat Kansas City. And now they're heading to an away game to an NFC opponent. The Rams are 6-6. They're really only a game out of first place in that NFC West. They are coached by a good coach. They have a good quarterback, some good receivers, and a running back. Who knows? This Buffalo team, this is supposed to be a down year for them. It's not, obviously. They're playing great football. But I don't know how dominant they are. Could they slip up and lose this game? Yeah, but I could see them, even if the game's close, coming back in the end and winning. Josh Allen just being too much. And again, they are just waiting for Kansas City to slip up and get another loss. That way they are the number 1 seed. So I would hope nobody would catch a team like that off guard, that nobody would catch a team sleeping like that. I can't see that. I just can't see it happening, but crazier things happen. And you got Sean McVay on that other side. He's a tough coach. He knows how to play to a defense's flaws, and he knows how to get the most out of his offense. But that Rams offensive line has been really just leaking pressure on Matthew Stafford. And we saw in that Miami game a couple weeks ago, Miami went in to LA, won comfortably, kind of controlled that whole game. And that Miami team's that's a soft Miami team. So if they can do that, I would imagine the Bills could do the same. So the system says the Bills are more than 3.5 points better. That will be another play for us. Let's lock that in before we head to the rest of the games here. Remember, 1-800-GAMBLER is there for you for all the information and resources you need. Next game, we're heading to San Francisco as the 49ers host the Chicago Bears. 49ers are 3.5-point favorites. The system says Chicago is the side to bet on in that game. San Francisco is absolutely, positively, 100% decimated by injuries. They lost 2 more guys for the season. Christian McCaffrey went down with a knee injury. And then Jordan Mason, the backup running back, the guy waiting in the wings, the guy who all 49ers fans were saying, please get this guy the ball, give Christian some rest. He got a start for 7 games or so of the season, was on pace for like 1,500 yards. As soon as McCaffrey come back, he took a back seat. He gets hurt in that game in Buffalo in the snow as well. Trent Williams is dealing with an injury. Brock Purdy's playing with a hurt shoulder. Obviously, they lost Brandon Ayuk, and they've lost a ton of other starters for the season, starting defensive linemen, Hufanga, Ayuk, Charvarius Ward was out. Their starting corner, their highest paid corner, was out for like 4 or 5 weeks because his 2-year-old daughter suddenly passed away. So he had bereavement leave. He was out forever. Diamondor Lenore has missed time. Renardo Green in the secondary. Now they also lost Aaron Banks. Their starting left guard is out as well. The whole left side of that offensive line were backups last week against Buffalo. They just lost one guy after another. The offense and the defense have seen pretty much an equal number of injuries, but I would say they've been a bigger loss on defense. Deebo Samuel's not playing like Deebo Samuel. I don't know what's gotten into that guy. In my opinion, I think he got paid, and he's the kind of guy that doesn't like to get hit. There are some NFL guys who don't like to get hit. Tyler Lockett, if you ever watch a Seahawks game, he catches the ball over the middle and he sees defenders coming, he slides. Amon-Ra St. Brown for the Lions. He doesn't like to get hit. He'll go out of bounds. He won't fight for extra yards. That is becoming the norm in the NFL for guys not wanting to get hurt. Deebo, the way he is schemed up in this offense is to take hits. He's going over the middle. He's, trying to find a soft spot in the zone to catch the ball and then take on blockers. And he doesn't like to get hit. And when he gets a nagging injury, he pulls himself out of games. And I think it's coming to a head with him this season because he's not running as hard as he used to. Him running the ball it's not worked. And he only has a couple touchdowns on the year. He's making way too much money for that. As a 49ers fan, I personally hope they move on from him. He's not worth the money that they're paying him anymore. And for as many games as he misses, I don't see any reason to keep the guy. But the 49ers are just decimated by injuries. Chicago's playing scrappy football. They've lost a couple really close games. They really seem to try to keep themselves in games as much as possible. Obviously, they got rid of Eberflus a few weeks ago. So we'll see what happens here with this game. The system likes Chicago plus 3.5. Caleb Williams, he's a rookie. He's playing. I think he's still showing a lot of flashes. He's got a lot of things to clean up. They have to hire an offensive guy. They've got to hire somebody with a track record of helping quarterbacks develop into their potential. I don't see how they can avoid that. To think that this team had a chance at Jim Harbaugh and passed on him, I don't understand that. You see what Jim Harbaugh is doing with the Chargers with nothing but a good quarterback on the team and a couple good offensive linemen on this is the offensive side of the ball. Gosh, could you imagine him with Caleb Williams? But that's the direction they got to move. San Francisco, in my opinion, has given up on the season. They're still in the playoff hunt, but they're so hurt, it's not going to matter. Even if they were to somehow squeak out that NFC West division title, they're too hurt. They don't have healthy starting unit. These guys are full of backups, and even if they get a couple guys back, they're not going to have the guys that they need to make plays. So Chicago plus 3.5. The next pick, we are going to head to the Chiefs here in Arrowhead as Kansas City hosts the Chargers. We just talked about Jim Harbaugh. The Chargers are getting 4 points in Arrowhead. System likes the Chargers getting 4 points. Says on a neutral field, these two teams are pretty even. So taking the Chargers plus 4. But if the Chargers do have these injuries on offense, which they did lose J.K. Dobbins, he's out. And now Vlad McConkey's out. They have nothing on offense. And this pick scares me because the system obviously can't take that into account because it's not based on individual numbers. It's based on team numbers. So this is a little bit of a scary pick. But Kansas City plays everybody close. I just think the Chiefs are the kind of team who they don't scheme to do what they do best and do it better and just make teams deal with that. They scheme to where are the holes in this team? Let's exploit them and just win. And they don't care how they do it. They don't care how close it is. They just do everything they need to win. And sometimes that comes down to one play. That comes down to Mahomes running for a first down on a big fourth down, or that comes to getting a big first down when it's needed. And the defense has played really well this year, but they still have just done what's needed to win. If they continue to play that way, and that's how teams usually play, they play the same most of the season. Not much ever changes. You rarely see teams change mid-season or late season and then just start to put things together. I think of the Giants. They won a couple Super Bowls that way, and so did the Ravens. But those were veteran teams with a lot of veterans on it who just kind of were cruising and then got serious and got hot. And I don't know, they played much better down the stretch than they had showed for like 3/4 of the season. Most of the time in the NFL, you are who you are. So Kansas City keeps things close and they win by a field goal at the end of the game, then we cash this ticket. Let's hope that's what happens. The other game here is this Cincinnati and Dallas game. That game, the Jets in Miami. So Dallas is getting 5.5 points at home against Cincy. The Jets are getting 6 in Miami. And then, of course, Cleveland getting 6 or 6.5 in Pittsburgh. Those are all too close to call. So we don't have any picks there. But this Dallas team has been winning games, beating Washington in Washington a couple of weeks ago. I thought that was a pretty impressive job there. I think Dallas will be able to score points. But Will their defense be able to slow down that Bengals offense? That I don't know. That will be interesting to see how it plays out. But that'll do it for our picks. I don't have a teaser pick this week. I didn't feel really comfortable with anything. Nothing really stood out to me. I was going to tease Carolina up to 20 and then maybe pair that with the Seahawks. But I got bit in the butt by taking a bad team, getting points last week. I don't want to do it again. So if you want to throw $1 on Carolina plus 20 and Seattle plus 9 in a teaser, go for it when you're $1.80 back or whatever. But I'm not giving any official teaser picks this week. The teaser picks, I believe, on the season are 8-5, 7-5, or 8-5 on the season overall. So we got a winning record there, but nothing stood out to me this week. So that will do it here for this episode. Man, we're in week 14. The end of the season is coming. 4 more weeks after this week in the regular season left. Then we head to the postseason. Heck, we're only, 17 days away from Christmas here. 2024 flew by for me. I don't know about you guys, but I would like to thank everybody for tuning in. I'll be back next week on Sunday at noon to give you some more picks, give you some updates on these picks this week. Let's hope we have another winning week, and let's hope we bring home some funds here. Don't bet more than you can lose. And, hey, have fun with this. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you next time.